Welcome to the Employee Authentication Project. Today, we're going to discuss how to make White Oak Middle School more safe and efficient. Here are the contents that we will be discussing today. We will give an introduction to White Oak Middle School, which is often abbreviated as WMDS throughout this project. We'll take a look at our project charter, the infrastructure figures. We're going to take a look at our project schedule. We'll take a look at our risk assessment plan, business impact analysis, disaster recovery plan. After this, after looking at the risk assessment, the business impact analysis, and the disaster recovery plan, then we will make recommendations for management on how they should proceed. All right, so a little bit about WOMS. WOMS has a rich history in the MCPS system. MCPS was recently awarded the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award by the United States Secretary of Commerce, and it's one of only 6 other school districts that have received this honor. MCPS was founded in the early 1860s, and WOMS was founded in the early 1960s, so about 100 years later. And WOMS wants to improve its physical, technical, and administrative security. All of the schools do have a technology budget. So a small portion of it is non-specified at the moment. So that means it could be used for anything. It could be used for security or any other technology needs. So we want to make sure that we can specify that to make sure that that budget is being spent the right way. MCPS has a $2.8 billion annual budget. All right, that's a lot of money. But remember, that's spread out across all of the schools. There's over 200 schools within the Montgomery County public school system. So keep that in mind. We have $2.8 billion to work with. Not all of that goes to WOMS, but a portion of that does. And we can look at this $2.8 billion as funding that comes from 3 main sources. The 2 main sources, the first 2 of the 3, 63.9% of that comes from the local government. 29% of that comes from the state, which is the state of Maryland. 7.4% of that comes from other sources, including federal. WOMS is one of many schools within this system that would benefit from enhancements that would harden it against technical, physical, and organizational exposure factors. So looking at our project charter for the Employee Authentication Project, first we're going to start with project authorization. All funds for this endeavor will be apportioned by the project sponsor, Gail Summers, Director of Montgomery County Public Schools Financial Resources. Next, we have the project scope. The Employee Authentication Project is needed to make the WOMS campus environment safer for students and employees. All right, so this project is in line with MCPS's mandate handed down by the school superintendent for safer elementary, middle, and high schools by providing the confidentiality that access is only granted to authorized and scheduled personnel, right? That's very important. Also, the integrity of the security screening process needs to be maintained. And lastly, all necessary resources and pre-approved building locations must be available to authorized individuals as needed. So that is according to the CIA principle: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now let's take a look at the project milestones. As soon as the project sponsor has approved this proposal, the project manager has 2 weeks or 10 business days to assemble the team and start work on the Employee Authentication Project. Let's take a moment to look at our infrastructure, and we can see our infrastructure by taking a look at the following 4 figures. So they discuss databases, applications, communications, hardware, and software. All right, so figure 1.1, WOMS database infrastructure. This is the proposed infrastructure. It does not represent the infrastructure as it currently is. This is an important distinction to make. because the current infrastructure is lacking. So we want to make sure that we highlight that currently WOMS only has a LAN domain and it is connected to the MCPS systems application domain. Figure 1.2 shows us our proposed applications infrastructure. We want it to be connected through a VPN server, which it is currently not. That is our hope. That is why we are putting it as a proposed part of this infrastructure that will go through the MCPS systems application domain. Figure 1.3, it is the proposed communications infrastructure. This is what we are hoping to have in place. We are hoping that we will have an external security guard who will monitor the premises, who will interact with any visitors that come and make sure that they show their ID and that they will also be able to verify who they are coming to meet with before we let them walk into the building. This external security personnel will be able to communicate with different people on campus, such as the front office staff, the internal campus security, technical support, and local law enforcement if necessary. Figure 1.4 shows us the proposed hardware, software infrastructure. So for hardware, we have virtual machines that we are hoping to be able to tap into at a data center, biometric scanners, which we would like to install, and smart card readers. We are hoping that we will be able to install these, which will help with authentication. Software such as Windows Server 2019. We are currently operating on that. We are currently operating on Google Workspace. And we would like to implement RSA, Secure ID Access, which can be used with the biometric scanners. Let's take a look at our project schedule. As we discussed earlier, the different milestones that we are hoping to achieve. By September 1st, 2021, we would like to have approval of the Employee Authentication Project, which we are discussing right now. We are hoping that our project sponsor, Gail Summers, approves that by September 1st, 2021, so that we can get to work on it immediately. By October 12th, 2021, we're hoping to have our multi-factor authentication system designed and ready to go. By November 11th, 2021, we would like our biometric and smart card readers installed. That is very important. That's a huge part of our new authentication process. By January 15th, 2022, we're hoping to start our alpha testing. By April 17th, 2022, we would like our alpha and beta testing to be completed. By May 5th, 2022, we would like to train all current employees on the new security measures to make sure that they are prepared for the upcoming school year. By July 10th, 2022, we would like to monitor all of the new security controls for bugs because no system is without its flaws. And we want to make sure that we roll out a system that is as solid as possible. All right. And by August 23rd, 2022, this is for all current and new staff. We want to go over everything again to keep everything fresh in everyone's minds. We want to go over each of the multi-factor controls, and this will become a mandatory annual training for all staff going forward. All right, so we conducted a risk assessment, and what we found is the different threats and vulnerabilities and likelihood of risk that White Oak Middle School is facing. Threats and vulnerabilities. All right, so there are several discrepancies within MCPS's data security structure as it is right now. Users are not required to connect to the local system via remote or virtual private network. And the lack of a remote server means that all documentation for the school may be stored on individuals' local computers. Quantitative risk. Okay, so we're looking at a formula, SLE times ARO equals ALE. So that is the single loss expectancy times the annual rate of occurrence equals the annual loss expectancy. So currently that is $21 million. And if we add a buffer to that, or a control, which we call a safeguard, by spending $1,146,000, we can decrease the annual rate of occurrence from 4.2 to 1. By spending $1,146,000 on enhanced security, the annual loss expectancy goes from $21 million to $5 million. That's a huge difference. So that equates to a savings with control of $16 million. And the cost of the safeguard or the control, since it is $1.146 million, the savings that we have with the control is basically $16 million minus that number, which gives us a realized savings of $14,854,000 per year. All right, we're looking at qualitative risk now. Experts suggest hardening computers and applications and offering cybersecurity training. So to mitigate ransomware attacks in the future, academic researchers suggest correctly installing and connecting computers and applications, hardening system defenses, focusing on the user domain, and providing simulated experiences and cybersecurity training. Looking at our business impact analysis, where we will see critical business functions and resources and recovery time objectives. Starting with the critical business functions, the online educational infrastructure, personal identification information for students, financial records and banking information, and the employee benefits portal are the 4 primary functions within WOMS. And you can take a look at figure 1.4 as we discussed earlier. For our critical business resources, MCPS has cloud servers located at its headquarters in Rockville, Maryland. These servers are where all of the vital information for WOMS staff and students is located. And there you can see figure 1.1 to have a visual. The Cloud Hub, as it is right now, is subject to undesired traffic because there's little to no authentication required beyond usernames and passwords. Okay, that is very minimal security. Looking at our recovery time objectives, this lets us know how quickly we need to restore the critical business functions. All right, taking a look at our disaster recovery plan. Starting out with the training. So staff will be trained on this plan. They will be trained to know how to respond in the event of a computer or cyber attack, natural disaster, hardware damage. For individuals who have special needs and have certain accommodations, for any type of theft or misappropriation, and anytime the data center is down and they are not able to access critical documents. The team for this is the project sponsor, who is Gail Summers. The project manager is Jason Johnson. The infrastructure security manager is Melanie Cruz. The information technology manager is Xavier Washington. And the director of human resources is Mohammed Khan. Now, we're looking at the priority levels within the disaster recovery plan, and it goes from 1 through 5, 1 being the most critical and 5 being the least. Here are our recommendations for management. This will discuss the technology and the finances that are needed to carry out the project proposal. So we are proposing that out of our current technology budget for White Oak Middle School, that $1,146,000 be used to beef up our security. And we are projecting that if we spend this much money on security, that is physical, technical, and administrative security, this will decrease cybersecurity risk by close to 75%. We need security guards who are going to be located on the outside and inside of the building. We need either a keypad entry or a biometric scanner that all staff will have to use when they enter the building. Smart card access, we are recommending that for all staff and visitors that they use a special smart card to access the White Oak Middle School computers. And we would like to have CCTV cameras that are able to pick up important spots inside and outside of the building to make sure that people are using the utmost discretion, right? So cameras sometimes can keep people honest. And again, this will give us a realized savings of close to 75% annually if all of these recommendations are followed. Thank you for taking the time to look through this presentation. I have listed references to each of the items that I mentioned during this presentation. All of these can be found in the Information Security Project, which is a Microsoft Word document, and that will be made available to you after this presentation. So thank you. It was a pleasure. And if you have any questions, please email me at jjohnsonsr.45038@ucumberlands.edu.